Welcome back and thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Now we want to dive into a conversation, and tonight we're talking about road accidents. There has been an increase in cases of road carnage in the past few months, a worrying trend, especially since we're approaching the holiday season. So we have a few stakeholders here with me, and we'll be discussing what exactly is the problem, why aren't we getting it right, and what should be our precautionary measures even as we approach the holiday season. To my immediate right, we have David Njoroge, who is the chairperson of the Road Safety Association. Good evening, and thank you so much for making time. Next to him, we have Peter Murgor, who is a disaster risk reduction manager at Kenya Red Cross. Good evening, karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, we have Albert Karakacha, who's the chairman at Matatu Owners Association. Good evening, karibu sana.
Thank you.
All right, before we even get into this conversation, let's look at the grim reality. Let's look at the statistics just for this year alone. So between January 1st and September, we have recorded 3,300 cases of people who have died due to road accidents. As of August 10th to September, where we are right now, we have recorded 2,933 fatalities. That is 367 in just a few weeks. Now, these accidents have been rising, especially in August, and that's what we want to talk about. It's a grim reality. So, David, let's start with you. As you begin with your opening remarks, just today, or was it yesterday, you called for suspension of drivers' licenses issued in the past 6 years.
Yeah.
Why?
Sure. One, what is important is Kenyans' lives. And even many people have been complaining, but the fact is that in the past 6 years, most of these licenses have not been given in the right way. We reported, and it is something which is known, that mostly people are paying 6,000 and they get licenses. So it is a very simple arithmetic. What do we want as Kenyans? People to continue dying. We know that we have proper half-baked drivers. But what we are saying is this. Because now we cannot identify these 6 years who got the license in a genuine way. So we are asking if we can do proper retraining, because we are saying 80% of the drivers 6 years down the line, almost 80% never received their licenses in the right way.
Okay.
One, and which is we have done this investigation, we have so many driving schools. These driving schools, for them to get clients, what do? They must make sure that they bribe at NTSA so that their drivers get licenses. A very simple question we asked in NTSA, can you show us a list of those people who came to do tests and failed? For the whole of the 6 years, we don't have anybody who ever failed. Does it mean that all these schools were training these drivers perfectly? So it is very clear. For somebody to get a license, it's only 6,000. You can even try it. When you are at home, that license is brought. So unless we take drastic measures, we agree as Kenyans. Yes, we have driven, like a very good example.
Yeah.
I'm giving an example of a family of 16 perishing just the other day.
Kariandusi, yes.
But just go to that accident. We were told the Matatu was in fault, which is true. The Matatu was trying to overtake. But when we did our investigation, the Matatu, we have the record of the way the Matatu, the speed of the Matatu. So it means that there was a Prado before this Matatu. And this Prado was going at a speed of 50. But immediately the Matatu tried to overtake this Prado. The Prado driver oversped his vehicle. So where was the Matatu left? With the oncoming lorry. And this Prado, the driver, could see very well there is a coming lorry and there is a Matatu overtaking. If he only stepped on his brake for only 3 seconds, that Matatu would have veered and that accident would not have been.
Okay.
But somebody who was going to school, trained properly, you are taught, first of all, you must be patient. You must know to give way. But most of these licenses, because they are just brought at home, we are asking, why can't we get the registration of that Prado in the first place? So that it will be a better thing when people understand what mistakes they do. Because you just have that notion that this is a matatu. There's nothing, it should not overtake me. So you just accelerate your vehicle. And we have seen that habit particularly on the highways. When you want to overtake somebody, that's the time he thinks and then he tries to, like you are competing. This Prado driver, so very clear, he could see that this lorry is coming. And a Prado, even he could have gone the other side. But because of that belief, I'm on my right. I am on my right. That person is a cause of the 16 people who perished.
All right, but Kenyans are arguing, even those who got their license post or pre the 6 years that you're talking about, equally can cause accidents. So why zero it in?
We have seen, you know, our work is to do this investigation.
Okay.
We are trying to do our audit. Today, we have so many people. We used to talk of matatus, the numbers, the matatus, the boda boda. Today, we are talking of personal vehicles. In fact, we are starting with boda bodas. And then you come to personal vehicles. We have so many personal vehicles killing Kenyans, but they are normally not reported because they will kill one person, 2 people. Today, we have about 4 people killed in Mombasa Road, but that was not reported. So if you report this death, and if you do your research, you will realize that those people who received these licenses 6 years to this time, they are causing a lot of accidents.
Okay.
We don't say that somebody cannot cause an accident, but whatever you will see a qualified driver, he will cause what we call an accident. But the accident we are experiencing today, you are not supposed to call them accidents. They are crashes. These people will crash. They don't know how to give way. When that person is driving, he thinks that the road belongs to him. Even if he sees a boda boda, he does not know that the boda boda has a right of way, that you must keep the distance, the same distance you keep when a vehicle is in front of you.
Okay.
So these are some of the things. Driving a vehicle, and this Kenyan should know, that driving a vehicle, anybody can drive, even a kid can drive. But why are you going to school to be trained? You are trained properly to make sure that you can make decision if something happens. If you are driving your vehicle and all of a sudden you realize brakes have failed, you are supposed first of all to know, how do I save my life and any other person's life? Because if this Prado driver noted and knew that here I must give way, that Prado would have just gone off. I'm telling you, we will not be talking today that a whole family was swept, 16 people died. That Prado went. The matatu now is blamed. The fact is that any driver who goes on highway, sometimes you will try to overtake, you miscalculate, but we live in letting the other person go, or sometimes you find yourself, you brake. But when somebody, you have already calculated to overtake this person, and the time you are in the middle, this person has raised the pedal. What are you talking about? Any incoming vehicle, that will be a head-on collision. So these are some of the very few things which are supposed to be trained to the drivers. The accidents we call accident don't happen because of a very big thing happening. It's a very slight mistake. Lives are gone.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Peter, coming to you, and especially from a first responder perspective, because I believe you get to interact, analyze, go to the ground at times, and just get to investigate what exactly happened. He raises key issues. Do you agree that perhaps corruption, human error is the reason why we're where we are?
Thank you very much, and I like the passion with which the authority is speaking with authority. And we may not play a big role in investigating because our role majorly is to save lives and support to mitigate, communicate, advocate to the communities, to infrastructural responsibilities, to administrative arms on promoting and mitigating against accidents. But I would agree to a large extent that when you get to those scenes and at times when we are dealing with the gory images, with the very painful and disturbing experiences, a lot could have been prevented. A good example is what is given about that Prado driver. And from a risk reduction perspective, from an emergency responder perspective, Something when I was being asked to come to talk to this show, and something I would like to underscore to Kenyans, is something my driving school teacher taught me, and I think that's where the teaching came up. The first time before I was given a vehicle for an organization, I was taken for a road test. And before he handed me the certificate, he said, "You have qualified." But he said, "I want you to know that by signing this, I am giving you a mobile coffin." I know people may not like that statement, but I think what he was underscoring is how you use this vehicle, split seconds, it becomes a coffin. And so from a risk reduction perspective, the message from Kenya Red Cross as we advocate to communities is four-pronged, one of which the authority has expressed. We look at the driver-focused perspective. We look at the infrastructure and the environment. We look at the motor vehicle and the equipment that we are using. And we also look at the administrative and policy. You know, at times people will just want to look at this person has caused an accident. But if we're going to have a conversation from a risk reduction perspective, we have to look at those four pillars. When we're talking about driver focused, the issues he has raised come into play. How qualified are you as a driver? How sensitive are you? How much restraint are you practicing? Do you understand road safety? Do you have the experience to anticipate the oncoming vehicle, the discipline to exercise restraint? For example, preventing an accident. Do we have that in our mind? Or do we have a competitive attitude, you know? Like, for example, when I see an oncoming vehicle and they're trying to maneuver, am I trying to say, huyu anafanya makosa, am I going to slow down to prevent an accident, number one? And that takes a lot of discipline. So driver focused, and the mentality, sober mind, number one. Are you drowsy? Are you sleepy? Have you had enough rest when you're driving? What is your state of mind when you're driving? What is your environment even? Are you sensitive about the people around you, the children, the elderly, people who might be having visual impairment? So how are you able even to handle the safety of the environment you're driving in? And then also the aspect of awareness of your environment. And then when you come to the issue of infrastructure and environment, on a risk reduction perspective, in fact, in about a week or two, we'll be having the International Day of Disaster Risk Reduction in Busia County. And one of the conversations we're having around the Sendai framework is building back better. So our infrastructure and environment, how do we have roads that are clearly marked, roads that are safe and promoting safety? People can look at them and they can be aided to be safe in driving. Roads that are not ending abruptly, but also preventing issues around that. When you come to the issue of vehicle, he talked about a faulty vehicle. And oftentimes we realize that even, unfortunately to say, some of the transport industries or people who are doing this business, they may not be sensitive to ensuring, or even personal vehicles for that matter, are not keen to ensure that their vehicles are well maintained, they are safe, they are up to scratch with services and properly functioning. So those are some of the issues that you look at when you're coming to the risk reduction perspective. And from the issue around administrative and policy, issues around, and I'm so happy to hear him talk about audits. I'm so happy to hear him talk about the issues of regulation and trying to enforce and trying to bring those kind of things that take serious action on overspeeding. So majorly from a risk reduction perspective, what we observe many times is there are accidents that could have been prevented if people exercised a bit of restraint, self-control, if our vehicles were roadworthy for that matter. And it takes you, before even the policeman comes, it takes you as an individual to be sensitive and to mind that this vehicle I'm driving, what is the state? How fast can it go if I brake? All those are things that we need to think about.
Okay. That's why people say when you're on the road, just imagine you're the only sober one.
Absolutely.
But just to drive a point home, if you really want to know that there's a problem in this country, just look at how drivers operate in a roundabout. Everyone is doing things their own way.
Absolutely.
But coming to you, Albert, I mean, matatus have been on the spotlight for not just today, but for years. Are there any measures that you have implemented that are actually working when it comes to curbing indiscipline?
Okay, first of all, we want to say pole to the family who lost their lives. And we can say that within Matatu, we have a plan. And the plan is through self-regulation. we believe through self-regulation we'll be able to tame the issue of the rogue drivers, because we have registered SACCOs whereby the law says that they are supposed to manage through the association. The SACCOs are supposed to manage, not NTSA to come and manage the SACCOs. So what we are appealing to NTSA, let's follow the regulation and make sure that the SACCOs are well managed by the leadership of the SACCOs. Because we even have examples like 2NK, 4NT SACCOs, which they manage, and if you try to follow the ratio in terms of the accidents, they are very minimal. So to us, what we are urging the government, they should come in and make sure that this business is just like any other business, to let the SACCO manage the business rather than NTSA and police coming on the road and trying to push the management of the SACCO. If you go other countries, I've been to China, you don't see police on the road. You'll just see the mobile police moving around and cameras. So to us, I think government is doing disservice to us. They need to see how to work very closely with us to see how we can manage the business without any interference.
Albert, there are those who are saying perhaps the whole problem with the Matatu sector is the fact that the finance model has a problem. So you give me your car, I need to give you your target before making my money. So I'm always in a rush. Do you think it's high time we streamline that finance model?
If you ask me, well-managed SACCOs, we do not have those things of targets. We have discipline. So what we are just saying, those people will talk about the targets, but if you go deeper into it, there is no target. And maybe you will get some of the SACCOs, you will hear about the target. And this is the high time, even the banks, they should be part of what is happening, because you get, a bank is giving a loan for 3 years. You see, you are paying a loan of 200, like the Manyangas you see on the road. You'll get that guy, the vehicle will be on the road for 24 hours. So what we are urging, even our by financial institution, they should be part of the road safety, trying to promote road safety. They should work out something, let's say going forward, having like 8 to 10 years, so that at the end of the day, it will be able to reduce the road carnage on our roads. Yes.
Okay, David, coming to you. I mean, NTSA is always on the spotlight. Yeah. It has been accused of failing in its role. Yeah. But from where you sit, is it policy failure or enforcement failure?
No. I want to say, why do people complain about NTSA? You know, we have to understand, because it is true. It is the only authority we have in this country, and we don't have another authority, which is about saving lives. It's only authority we have. And when we were coming up with NTSA, we were some of the people who are trying to pioneer. We have NTSA as a body, as an authority. And this idea came from Michuki, because he was just an individual. And how did he manage to reduce the carnage as an individual? So we thought if we have an authority, it would do better. And we tried to get examples like in Nigeria, they have the same body. In Britain, they have the same body. That is why we were fighting to make sure that we have an authority whereby everybody plus the police must, the NTSA is the leader for the whole of anything to do with safety. And for sure, Kenyans know that when NTSA was formed from the word go, under the CEO, Francis Major, lives were saved. You know very well, people used to, even when people are drinking, would say NTSA is somewhere there. There was at least some discipline. But that's why I continue repeating the 6 years, because since the DG, that is the former CEO left, then there was a lot of change. First, policies we have enough. In fact, other countries are coming to get policies from our country. But what we really don't have is the implementation of those policies. You have them, they are good, but who is implementing? Who is enforcing? This is where there is a gap. Because, for instance, when policies are made, NTSA should make sure that they are implemented. Police officers must make sure that there is that enforcement. But there is a gap in between there, because you remember when NTSA were on the road, within a short time, 2 years, 3 years down the line, they were only 4 years. Then there was politics that they must be removed again from the road, and we bring the police because accidents are many. So there is a lot of politics. You'll see, and even the president talked about this, that NTSA and police, they never work together. We've been in NTSA, we try to make sure that NTSA also cannot work as NTSA. Stakeholders must be involved, because that is what made Michuki succeed. He worked with the stakeholders. He could call the Matatu people, whether they don't agree, but he will come up and they agree. But NTSA, the 6 years I'm talking about, that's why I'm saying the license, people should, at least, we must test the people who took licenses. If we can get the 20% who took it rightly, they can. But the rest, let them go back to school. Okay. We are also talking about inspection centers. You know, we must go to the critical area. What is this causing these accidents? Today, you are still with the same mentality, yes, which we used to have. They're saying the matatus are the notorious, matatu, there is target. You are still in that. But I want to tell you, when you go now to the real numbers, matatus, today we can say they are about number 4. There are others who are now laying. We are talking of border. One, what made Matatu succeed when Michuki came, there was what you call self-regulation. He brought the circles so that the Matatu people themselves will organize themselves. And what they did, before that, the drivers and the makangas used to control these vehicles. Why? Most of them were the former Mungiki group. But when the government introduced that anybody to drive a matatu or to be a conductor must have a certificate of good conduct, that thing only removed all those people because there's no way they can get the certificate of good conduct. These people now, they are now in the border sector. And you know the border sector is used even by politicians because if they want people who will do their dirty job, they just go to the border people. But when you follow properly, most of this is why, look at a vehicle, an accident happened, and then the first thing, when they are banning this vehicle, the first thing they do is to make sure that they steal everything in that vehicle, because we still have criminals in border sector. So if we can be able to remove these criminals, just very simple, get a certificate of good conductor, make sure that you have a circle, that circle, if it is Nairobi, the circles in Nairobi, then we have an association, like just the way Matatus did. And I can tell you, we are working with them in many things. We do a lot. And today when I talk of inspection, I want to tell you, not a matatu, which can go in our Kenyan roads, which has not come for inspection. Because matatu, if it is, for instance, I give you 111, from Gong, there's a traffic officer. Karen, there's a traffic officer. When you come to Kilimani, and these stages, you'll find traffic officers, and the first thing they look is a matatu because they know there is money there. So you find, this is why you see now, there is reduction in the matatu sector. But look now at our heavy commercial vehicles. Every accident, you'll hear there was a lorry, which was not happening before. Look at the school buses. How many people, children, have we killed on these roads, these school buses? They even, now you see, you want to go for Odhoni, you want to go for a wedding, you want to go anywhere, you hire those school buses. Those school buses are dangerous because most of them don't go for inspection. If you go to the inspection centers, we have only 17 in Kenya. But if you go, you'll only find matatus. Where are these lorries? Why? I will tell you. Most of these people who own these lorries, they are the rich people in this country. They don't want their vehicles to go for inspection. He would rather give the 6,000 and then the sticker is brought on his vehicle. Okay. So that is where the problem is. And if we want to solve this problem, let everybody follow the law. If we want the border person to follow the law, make sure that the matatu person is following the law, make sure that that truck is following the law, make sure that the school bus, make sure that these tour vans, they have started killing. That will tell you what is happening. Okay. So as I'm saying about 6 years, I'm also requesting, if it is And we are saying, we are demanding, all the vehicles which went for inspection this year, they must go back for proper testing, because we know many have not gone.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
On that note, let's take a break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with KTN Prime. We continue the conversation on road carnage. Peter, coming to you, I mean, from the perspective or concept of disaster risk reduction, which focuses on proactive measures, let's talk about what we can do, grassroots, community. What can the country do to ensure that not only just drivers, but pedestrians know what they need to do, how to do it? I don't know, because if you go back to when Michuki rules were enforced, everyone knew safety belt, lazima. Like it came like as second nature. But now we're seeing people hanging off manyangas, you know, like those things that it should be common sense, yet it seems it's not common.
Absolutely. I think it's a very interesting conversation, because at times when you look at it, let's take, for instance, the foundation of which we are talking. And again, I want to underscore that it is very nice to hear the authority themselves being at the forefront, advocating for some of these things. But negligence, I think we, and I say this with a lot of regret, that I think as a culture issue, we seem to be negligent as people. Take, for example, I remember when I used to grow up, you'd be careful to walk off the roads, safe places, pedestrian pathways, but you'll find people walking, 3 people on the road, not caring how the vehicle is coming, whatever is happening. We just want to do things the way we want to do them, recklessly. But I think from a risk reduction perspective, you've asked that what measures can we take? First of all, Kenya Red Cross has a framework called community engagement and accountability, where we do advocacy and we communicate with communities. For instance, education on road safety. We have had pieces of work where we've done and worked with NTSA, worked with Matatu sector, worked with other partners as well, to just educate motorcycle people, for example. Like wearing a helmet, you find some people hanging the helmet on the head. But do you know, wearing the helmet rightly reduces the accidents almost 6 times, and 74% reduction of death. I've been in response for quite a while. I've done a number of road traffic accident responses. I can tell you from my own personal experience, oftentimes when we get to the scene, people who are seat belted, even if the seat left, you will find them on their seat, and the damage on them is more. This one I'm telling you from a practitioner perspective, what I've witnessed. So what does that tell you? The person who took heed and practiced the safety measures and restraint of seat belting. You're not seat belting for the police. I remember there were those times when we could get through the police, people are really quickly reaching for the belts, and the policemen are coming, and you do it for the police, not realizing you're doing it for yourself. Issues around walking along safe areas and watching out for each other. Motorcycles just coming from any angle, scuttling for space between the driver, the motorcyclist, and the pedestrian. So also the other thing is advocacy for clear infrastructure. I talked about infrastructure earlier on. How safe are the infrastructure that we have? For example, the roads, are they lean enough? Are we struggling to fit in the roads with vehicles? What visibility do we have? So we are having a lot of campaigns around trying to educate the citizenship, and thank you for this opportunity to be able to tell people that please, safety begins and starts with you and me. It's our responsibility. When you take caution to be safe as an individual and you cascade the same to your friend you're walking with or a colleague you're driving with, when you exercise some of these pieces, then you're promoting road safety. Secondly, how sure are we making that we leave demarcated areas to be for that purpose? For example, you find pedestrians are walking, then a motorcycle is coming and hooting and harassing and pressing them. Or some errant matatus, if I may call them, because it's not the entire matatu industry that is wrong, but an errant matatu who is trying to use the pavement to try and navigate. And nowadays you even see private vehicles. So it goes back to self-discipline. How can we be patient? How can we exercise patience, restraint, self-regulation to comply to traffic rules? Not for the policeman, not for the traffic policeman, but for our own safety. How do I keep myself safe on the road? How do I keep the other people who are using the road safe, including pedestrians, including other motorists, including even ambulatory services, for instance, and all those kind of people that come on. And so the message is also that when we are getting into the road, let us realize we have incidences whereby somebody was innocently just being compliant, but somebody who was non-compliant came and injured very badly somebody who was compliant. Yeah. So another thing that we want to talk about motor vehicle safety is that people just need to start adopting a culture of being compliant to rules. For example, if you have a vehicle, can you take responsibility and make sure the vehicle is roadworthy? Can you take responsibility and be sure that you're even in the right state of mind to move and operate the vehicle? The vehicle you're operating can cause serious damage to yourself first, and secondly to the people around you. Yeah. And so before even we go to enforcement, because many people want to look at enforcement, that's another myriad of conversation. How do we have that? And another element of advocacy around infrastructure, how do we have safe signs that are already put to clearly highlight to people, like for pedestrians, when you see a sign of it's not your time to cross, for example, the traffic light is indicating don't cross, how can we have self-restraint to do that? When we have the flyovers and the walk pathways that have been designated for us, you see people trying to run. And I want to use, for example, Mombasa Road. There are places whereby there are those footpaths that have been designated, but you find people still wanting to use shortcuts. It is said that shortcuts cut life short. So why don't you just be compliant, use the right route, use the designated areas that have been given to you so that you're compliant, so that these safety signs are showing us the right things to do. And to the construction industry, people who are taking, because it's a whole community perspective, and we look at it from a community perspective. Community is about that service provider. The people who are constructing roads, for example, and doing this, how mindful are we to make sure that we don't have those blind ends? A road is ending all of a sudden, there is no clear mark, there is nothing to show another road user or a driver, for example, that the road has ended. I don't know if you've ever experienced when you're driving and it has rained and it's all looking black. So you don't know where the road is stopping, you don't know where it is starting, or you're driving, all of a sudden you have 2 lanes and all of a sudden it's 1 lane and you're trying to move like that. So it's an entire societal approach to the service provider, the road user, the pedestrian, the enforcing agencies, administration and policy. We all need to take responsibility to realize that there are different perspectives we play towards keeping lives safe on the road to reduce the risks of road accidents.
Okay, noted. Albert, from what he said, shortcuts can cut your life short. True. I've picked that. I'll steal that from you. So looking at it, because it is a societal approach, clearly we're dropping the ball. We're not just blaming the authorities, but even us as Kenyans, we're dropping the ball. Since we're not taking it seriously, is it high time that we place some rules, for example, the Michuki rules? Is it high time that we have to shove these rules down Kenyans' throats so that we reduce these road carnages and cases of people who die? Because at the end of the day, they are our brothers, our sisters, people we know, friends, family.
You see, what we can say, if we can push the corruption, because you see, the corruption within our roads is still hampering whatever we are coming up with. And we'll urge the government, the national government, to embrace the issue of the association, because the association will be able to force the membership to make sure that they are adhering to the rules which are there. And we can borrow from other countries. Let's say Rwanda, if you go to Rwanda, the discipline is there. The police knows what it's supposed to be doing. NTSA knows what they're supposed to be doing. And even the owner of that company or sacked, they know what they're supposed to be doing. Because if you compare Rwanda with Kenya, they are ahead of us, and they borrowed all these regulations from Kenya, and they went and implemented. So what we are urging the government, that political goodwill must trickle down so that they can be able to see how they can help, because we need political goodwill. You will get that 2 months ago, you saw Boda Boda in State House, whereby there was no matatu in State House. But after Boda Boda going to State House, they still come on our roads and mess around with everything. So what we are saying, as the president meets each and everyone, don't discuss about business. Let's discuss about road safety on our roads. When you meet Boda Boda, can you talk about how can we change our behaviors? Rather than going to State House, you are given money, and then coming there, you are killing people on our roads. So let's try to, the leadership, the country leadership, they should come up with a way of seeing how we can work as a team so that we can be able to make our country prosper.
Okay. I see you're giving a thumbs up. You're giving that. But he's mentioned something, political goodwill. Let's not forget that those politicians are the same ones who do not observe traffic rules. So are we fighting a losing battle?
Why did Michuki succeed? It's clear, political goodwill. Here, we don't have political goodwill. That is what is lacking. When there is that political goodwill, things will work. Because when we come up with policies, and then, like for instance, and I don't want to challenge any government, but since about 3 years, we have not had, like our president, discussing about these things. Our people are dying on the road, but he has not said a word. And him just saying something, it will have an impact on our roads, because even the police will know now things are serious. I'm not challenging him, but I think if he can, even himself, to show us, like what Kibaki did. Michuki, people talk of Michuki, but remember, Kibaki becoming a president, he was in a wheelchair. So he really, his mind was about safety. So that is why there was a lot of goodwill. We tried with even them, they even tried to go to court. But even at the judiciary, they were supporting Michuki because they could see what is happening. But currently, we tried and we saw a very dangerous trend whereby even when we arrested some people drunk at night, and by bad luck, we caught up with the judge, and that thing was completely removed because everybody who was caught that night was released free. So you see, because you have tampered with a magistrate. And that's why I say the law is for everybody.
All right. Just before you finish your thoughts, I'll just come back to you. There's a small challenge. Peter, you talked about the fact that you have various trainings. How often do you have them? When do you have them? For those of our viewers who are perhaps watching and they would love to be involved, how can they?
To be very frank, at times one of the limitations is the resources, because everything is about resources. Currently, through the leadership of our Secretary General, we've prioritized road traffic accidents, and we are escalating our interventions around mitigating road traffic accidents. So what we are doing, we are devising curriculum. We've devised a curriculum. We've trained a team of staff and volunteers with the capacity and engaging stakeholders that are mandated to deal with the traffic rules. And so how often, what we are doing currently is, just recently we came up with a program that we've prioritized and we've mapped up the country. I know time does not allow us to visualize a map that we are using as Kenya Red Cross, but we mapped out the country. We mapped out what we are calling as hotspots that have been prone to these accidents.
What are they, if I may ask?
Pardon me?
The hotspots.
There are quite a number of counties. If you look at Nairobi, for example, if you look at the Maimahiu, the Salga, the Taita Taveta area, that is very much prone to accidents. Along Mombasa Road, there's a Narok Road that is very heavily prone to accidents in the western area. So there are areas we've mapped, close to around 8 areas that we've prioritized as high priority, and then there are others that are ranking low. So what we do through our Emergency Operations Center, where we have real-time statistics, We analyze, we collect information real time, we prioritize through our risk analysis department. Then now we see and say the trends here are worrying this area. So what we are doing currently, because you asked about how regularly we do these trainings, is we are trying now to work with because I talked about resources, we are trying to work with the relevant institutions. We are trying to work with the communities and authorities in those mapped out areas to come up with a training plan that will be prioritized. So I may not authoritatively talk about the schedule right now, but we are happy to release that publicly. If you support us with another session, we would be very happy to come and thank you. At this point, I think, allow me to just thank the Fourth Estate and yourselves for the great job you're doing to give us a mouthpiece to be able to have this conversation. But we'll be rolling out a schedule very soon because, like I said, we've just received some support to cascade this in those areas. The other way we would put it is, we have branches across the entire country in all the 47 counties. So if we feel there are needs, because we want all of us to own it as a society, please feel free to walk to our county coordinators, feel free to walk to our branches, just raise your concern and say we would like to collaborate with you. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KEPSA, private sector partners who can join hands with Kenya Red Cross in this initiative, together with NTSA, the Matatu Owners Association, the Motorbikes Association. How can we come together? That's the conversation we want to have. How can we all come together on the table? How can we create a platform to cascade this as regularly as possible? Yeah.
All right, Albert, I'll be coming to you shortly. I mean, we are here approaching, once it's October, we know it's already December, because as Kenyans, you know, the partying never stops and it's only going to get worse. Of course, there is the issue of alcohol, but still, more needs to be done. As we approach this season, that is usually the worst in the year, how should we behave? What should we be doing? What is the clarion call from where you sit?
Okay, through the Matatu Owners Association, I think we are talking to our members countrywide, and we are trying to come up with a road safety campaign, doing Nairobi, Mombasa, and the other part of the country, to try to talk to our members and even the drivers countrywide. But going forward, we believe that we need to see how to partner with the Kenya Red Cross, even the government through National Youth Service, to see how we can be able to train our drivers. We need to have refresher courses. We need to see how to, because if you go to National Youth Service, every year there are those guys who are coming from National Youth Service, they are looking for employment. We can tap from the National Youth Service and they will really help us in terms of driving and having good behaviors on our roads. So I think there is something we are working on through NTSA, and I think we will be engaging Kenya Red Cross to see how we can work very closely to see how we can reduce the road carnage by end of this year.
Okay.
Yes.
David, coming back to you, as you finish your point, you can make your final remarks. We are almost out of time.
Okay, thank you very much. First, Red Cross, we really need you. And there's an area we really want you to go, because when we do our audits, we have realized that even the figures we give of the people who have died, like the figures we are having here, these figures are from the those people who die on the road. But later we lose so many. So like now we are talking, these figures, we are now talking about 5,000 people have lost lives. But now the figures which are there are the people who are, the police reported dead on the spot. But most don't survive. And there is something we're trying to do, and we have some medics, we have some doctors. We want you to assist us, because we want you to work with these doctors so that we train, and particularly the Matatu people, the Boda people, to stop the bleeding. Because most of the people die because of bleeding. Because a small cut, before you get to the hospital, the whole blood is drained in your heart and you are dead. Somebody who could have been saved just by making sure that you stop that bleeding. We have a team of some doctors, and I think you are going to assist us so that we make sure that even the Boda people are properly trained. We'll save, you know, road safety is to save lives. And with that, we will save so many lives. Instead of now having figures here, you are talking about 3,000, but now I'm telling you, in fact, we are going to about 6,000 people who have died. That accident which was reported, 14 died, but now it is 17. So the figure keep on raising.
Changing, yeah.
But the figures which were given by the police, those are the ones which we continue discussing about. So the figures are more. Okay, another thing, I think it's a high time now, we stop anything to do with the blame game.
Yeah.
Now we have to sit, all of us, because those people who are dying are our sisters, our brothers, our mothers, our fathers. So we need to sit down just the way we used to sit with Michuki and the rest. Because you remember, as I said about Goodwill Kidogo,
Yes, briefly.
Michuki could even go on the road.
Okay.
We used to find it. So we need to have we have to sit as all the stakeholders and come up with proper measures on how we can curb these accidents.
Okay. Your final remarks?
Yeah, from Kenya Red Cross and just to NTSA, actually we have a program that is tailor-made for fast responders. We call them fast responders.
Yeah.
Again, under the leadership of our Secretary General, we are investing even into fast response within the few minutes, like he's saying, where we can save lives and stop bleeding. Our clarion call is safety begins with you and me. It's not about blaming someone else. It's about taking responsibility of keeping yourself alive and the other people alive on the roads. Let us be mindful as road users of other people that are using the roads. Let us just, it's not about being correct, but it's about reducing or avoiding an accident and saving lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Albert, final remarks.
So on my side, I think I'll want to urge our policemen, wherever they are, NTSA, the issue of corruption, we need to stop corruption, because corruption is the one making some of our drivers misbehave on the road. And if we could stop corruption, I think we'll still reduce the accidents on our roads. And we urge the national government to come up with a very good, clear collaboration with us to see how we can work as a team so that we can be able to reduce road carnage on our roads.
All right, I can't add more. I think that's a lot, and I hope our viewers have learned a thing or two. And if you haven't, please, you can always go back to our YouTube channel and you can rewatch the conversation. Tell someone, educate someone. That's how we learn, and that's how we reduce the cases, especially the death cases in our country. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Albert Karakacha, Chairman, Matatu Owners Association, David Njoroge, Chairperson, Road Safety Association, and Peter Murgor, Disaster Risk Reduction Manager at Kenya Red Cross. That's how we wrap things up here on KTN Prime. Thank you so much for being part of the broadcast. On behalf of Jesse Rogers, myself, Ashley Mazuri, Pretty Janet, and the entire team, have a good night.